All right, y'all. So I want to talk about this scene with Rhaenys again because how can we not? Like, how can we not? This time, I want to bring you some things that the showrunners and also Eve Best have said about this entire situation. Now, there are certain things that I agree with when it comes to these interviews and what they're saying, and there are certain things I really don't agree with, and it's annoying me. So I just want to hear what y'all think about this. Let's talk about it. So, of course, one of the main questions of last episode is, okay, if Rhaenys had Meleys sitting there, why didn't she just torch him? Why didn't she just say Dracarys and be done with the situation? And my knee-jerk reaction to that question, without even doing any research, without even like thinking in depth about it, was just like, bitch, it's gonna be more complicated than you think, right? If you just get up there and torch him, like, yes, okay, you may think that you solved the issue, but I think after they were just cheering for Aegon, I think that shit would be more complicated than that. But there are even more there are simpler answers that could have been used in this situation, and I don't know why the showrunners didn't use it. And I will go deeper into what I'm talking about, like what I'm saying, as we discuss these interviews. So the first one is coming from an interview with actress Eve Best, who plays Rhaenys and does an amazing job. We love that. Coming from Vulture. So she was asked, okay, so why didn't Rhaenys just torch the royal family and the whole Green crew? And she says, I know the temptation is there, right? In the end, she makes a bigger choice. We see that at the moment with what's going on in Ukraine, blah, 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 blah. That's an important thing for us all to remember right now. It's why she would have made such a great leader. She had in that moment all the power, yet she has respect for Alicent as a mother and a woman. They understand being in the grip of other people who might torch them. They know the only right choice is not to go there. Furthermore, it's the intelligent choice on her part not to torch a whole bunch of innocent people in the room. What's to be gained? In the end, it's not her battle. And we're going to bring up the innocent civilians in a second, y'all. We're going to bring it up. The escape she makes on the dragon is something that's been brewing since that very moment she was passed over, wrongly, unjustly, for the crown. It's this yearning just to get the hell out and get away from the whole ruddy lot of things. When she bursts out of that arena, she's internally saying, fuck you all. It's more about that than a need for revenge or destruction that the men might have jumped onto. She's breaking her own glass ceiling. Okay, we're about to talk in a second, but we got to get through the second one. The second one is coming from the Hollywood Reporter, and this is an interview with executive producer Sara Hess and director Clare Kilner. They were asked, so from the beginning, we have been waiting for Rhaenys to do something badass, and you gave us this incredible moment. It's very cool, but it did make me wonder, does it make sense that she doesn't kill them? She murders a bunch of civilians by bursting out anyway. And Sara Hess says, it's Game of Thrones, civilians don't count. Okay, and a lot of people saw this online and got really pissed about it. Now, I guess I can understand why, and here are my thoughts, okay? Because it's one thing to say, okay, it's civilians don't count, because we already know that if you are even reaching for any kind of power, or if you are in power at all in Westeros, you're doing nasty shit already. And to me, that's the point of the show, right? The whole point of the show is like, we're so focused on these people's families' inner workings and their relationships, and they having dinner in the Red Keep. Meanwhile, their citizens are struggling. Children are fighting in the fucking streets. Every single time they have a wedding, every single time they have an event, civilians getting blown up, civilians dying, people dying. So for me, the whole point of the show is to see, one of the main points of the show is to just demonstrate how invested we are, or how invested we get in these people's relationships and their lives. Meanwhile, the power that they're using, or the power that they're chasing after, or just the very way that this society is constructed, all of that amounts to these citizens that they're supposed to be claiming to care about being fucked over anyway. So all these people, no matter if you're rooting for them or not, they're shitty people. Like, they're shitty people. So if they're saying, if Sara Hess is saying the civilians don't matter in that aspect, then I can understand what she's saying. You know what I mean? I feel like I don't know, but that's my interpretation, or that's my understanding of the whole entire lore of it all is just that people are chasing this power. People are calling themselves lords and ladies and all that shit. Meanwhile, all the citizens there are every single time they have a disagreement, every single time that they choose to ignore bullshit going on, like Mysaria was pissed about them ignoring what was going on with his children. Every time, like, it's just the nature of that society, right? Is that these citizens suffer for whatever the fuck these people feel like, these lords and high lords and kings and ladies or whatever the fuck feel like doing. You know, that's one of the main points to me of this whole entire universe. It's just like chasing power and what that does to everybody around you or quote unquote underneath you based off of the hierarchy of whatever this fucking patriarchal society. So I can see it from that aspect, but I could understand what people are saying. Like, it didn't sound like she was saying the citizens don't matter in that way. If it sounds like she was saying like, oh, well, you know, whatever, let it be whatever. And I don't think that's the point of the lore. I don't think that's the point of the story. You know, it's to show that, like I said, as invested as these people are in their own lives, as invested as we are in these characters, and we're rooting for these characters, they do awful shit to citizens, to their own family, whatever. And what does that mean? Okay, so we go on. So they were asked, so why not pull the Dracarys trigger and save countless lives, possibly including her own, by preventing war? Why just turn around and fly away? So Sara Hess says, I think she just can't do it. It's not her war. And I don't like Sara Hess saying that it's not her war, because Rhaenys' grandchildren married, betrothed to Rhaenyra's kids, right? Right? I mean, it's her war. What do you mean it's not her war? There's so many other ways that child, let's just finish this shit real quick. So the fight's not between these two sides, and she's kind of not in on it. She doesn't feel like she's the one to come in and do that, but you're right. If she had just incinerated everybody, it's game over. Rhaenyra wins and we're done here, but the cost is huge. I also feel like that moment she looks Alicent in the eye and Alicent walks in front of her kid to shield him. It's one mother to another. Rhaenys is angry, but in her previous scene with Alicent, she respected her even if she doesn't agree with her, so she's not going to kill another woman like that. Clare Kilner said, we talked to Eve Best about this, and in the previous scene, she felt that Alicent really saw Rhaenys for the first time in a long time. In that moment, they're mothers in this terrible world created by men, and she can't do it. So I don't like these answers a lot. I mean, I like parts of them where it's just like Rhaenys sees Alicent as a mom or as a mother, and she's like, she can't do it at that moment. But then some, like they brought up someone, all these people bringing up like Rhaenys killed all those innocent people when she came up out of the fucking thing, you know, out of the dragon pit. So I don't like those answers. I think the showrunners could have gone for an easier answer, or many easier answers, to be honest. The first thing is like, okay, as a lady, do you really, or lord, whatever, do you really want the responsibility of regicide? Like, do you really, you gonna wipe out the whole entire royal family, like I said, when they were just cheering for Aegon? Like, it's not as, I mean, I understand that your enemies would be out the way, but I don't think that transition of power would be something easy as fuck. I think that's something to consider. I think the other thing to consider is the whole idea of kinslayer. I mean, don't ask me specifically how Rhaenys is related to Aegon, but I mean, Alicent kept calling her cousin this, cousin that, and all this shit. So I don't know. In Westeros, with Westerosi culture, that shit is not cute. Like, to be a kinslayer, to be, it's just, like I said, I don't know the specifics of how Rhaenys is related to the Greens and all that shit and whatever, but it's just not cute. In like I said, Westerosi culture, you're cursed forever. They really you're written down in the history books as kinslayer. It's just not cute. It's either the small folk, the lords, the high folk, they all believe in that shit, the kinslayer shit. I also think, like, at the end of the day, like, you you don't know, Rhaenyra still was messing around with Alicent. They was best friends. It's like, do you really want, as like this lady of Driftmark, do you really want that responsibility? Like, you don't even know what the queen really feels about this, or Rhaenyra really feels, and I'm saying the queen because the true queen, what Rhaenyra really feels about, like, burning up Alicent and her kids. you know who Rhaenyra is probably by this point, so she probably don't want to go to that extreme at this point, and then like I said, they still kind of can too. So I think that there are stronger reasons that they could have told us why Rhaenys did this shit, or decided not to do this shit, decided not to say Dracarys, especially like I said, after she just killed a whole bunch of innocent civilians coming up from the dragon pit. Now let me tell you something. If I was forced into this world and I was in that predicament and that was the only way out, bitch, I'm sorry, I'm getting the fuck out. Like, I'm so sorry. I ruined y'all day with this dragon. Couple civilians thought they was going into work later on that day. Y'all's not going to work. I'm so sorry. They're going to have to call in a replacement because I'm getting the fuck out of here. If not, the Greens are going to lock me up. So it's just like, you know, there's just, to say that it's not her war and she couldn't do it and Alicent look in her face. Like, I understand that whole thing as a mother or whatever. Like, okay, we can, I just feel like there are much stronger reasons or much stronger, ways to deal with this issue of Rhaenys not saying Dracarys. I mean, was she not knowing how Old Town was going to respond? Because remember that long time ago, I don't know, at that one wedding where Alicent had come in and just was just like showing off her green Miracle Grow dress, and the Hightowers came up and said, hey bitch, we know you about to go into the belly of the beast, but we here with you, mama. Like, Old Town supports your ass. Like, I just feel like they could have said, the showrunners could have said, there's so many political dynamics going on, and Rhaenys just made a split-second decision. She didn't want to be a kinslayer in that moment, even though they're about to turn into one. This whole entire civil war is about to turn everybody into that. But you know, there are just so many other reasons that they could have brought up instead of saying, oh girl, it's not her war. It is her war. It is her war. Driftmark and everything, her grandkids, everything caught up in this shit, you know? So to say that she's just gonna stay out of it when she's so clearly involved, it's just, I don't like that answer. But tell me if I'm being too hard on their ass, you know, tell me what y'all think about that situation. I just think that it is a perfectly reasonable response for Rhaenys to not have said Dracarys. I just think it's perfectly reasonable. Like, you're sitting in front of the like, just imagine if it was the president of the United States or some shit like that. You know, it's like, yes, you could have pressed the button. Of course you could have pressed the button, right? But it's like, you already made a huge show at their monument, at their important building, at their dragon pit. You already made a huge entire show. So on top of that, you're gonna burn the fucking royal family? And you think that's gonna lead to peace in the realm? That's why I don't know why these showrunners keep saying it's going to lead to peace in the realm. What do you mean it's going to lead to the war is over? The war would have just begun, especially if the people feel like they have enough, or they are fed up enough to where it's like, nah, bitch, we can start running these bitches over, run it. Well, there's a scene coming that y'all already, the book people already know what's coming. But if Rhaenys had said Dracarys, I don't think the war would have been, or the transition of power, like I keep emphasizing, would have just been so seamless, and the war would have been over and everybody would have been satisfied. Oh, there's a woman on the throne, it's fine. And she came in there, and the woman came on the throne after she burnt up the man and his entire fucking family with Rhaenys. It's just not in what universe does that sound like everything would be okay after that? You see what I'm saying? It's just not realistic. It's not realistic. So let me know what y'all think of this in the comments. Y'all already knew I was about to rant about this shit. Anyway, put some respect on Rhaenys' name, period. I hope we get to see more of Meleys. Meleys looks good, cool as fuck, okay? With that crown on her head, cause she is what? The Red Queen, baby. Anyway, let me know what y'all think about this whole thing, and I will talk to y'all later.